Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of SpookieJawa's podcast. I'm here with Star Wars Network, also known as Seth, and today we're going to be talking about the sequel trilogy of Star Wars and which of the movies were good and which were bad. Hello, Seth, and welcome to the podcast. This is your second time being on, actually. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Spooky. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm really excited to talk some Star Wars with all of you.
Yeah, I can't wait. So I have a few questions for you, actually, about the sequels, and we're going to start with The Force Awakens first. So what were your opinions on The Force Awakens?
Okay, so I was like 10 or like 11 years old when Force Awakens first came out. So it was actually the very first Star Wars film I saw in theaters. I
Right.
still remember going to Force Friday to pick up all the new merch and more. And man, let me tell you what, Force Friday was excellent. I remember I got for all of you Lego fans out there, and I know Spooky, you are also a Lego guy.
Big time.
Um, yeah, I got like Ray's speeder, and then the First Order Snow Trooper, transport speeder. Yeah, no, the speeder, which was actually not in the movie.
Yeah, I know.
And also, they came out with those buildable figures. So I
Right.
got that Clone Commander Cody buildable figure, and some other figures like Poe Dameron, the Flame Trooper, and even they re-released Boba Fett. So I remember the Force Friday thing very heavily because I remember my stepfather was like, he was looking for Kylo because he's like, oh my god, we need to get the new main villain,
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's the thing that everyone wanted. Everyone wanted a Kylo Ren action figure that year, because he's
He
like
was a
the
cool
new Darth
character.
Vader,
Yeah.
new Darth Vader. It's just like what Darth Maul was for Phantom Menace. Everyone wanted Darth Maul merch.
Right.
So, sadly, all the Kylo Ren stuff was all sold out. So,
Yeah.
that's the sad thing.
Well,
But
what made him such a big character was the introduction of his lightsaber and the corrupt kyber
yeah,
crystal in it. That was,
yeah,
to me, when I first saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need this lightsaber right now.
yep. No, legit. When that teaser trailer first hit in like November of 2014, I was like the happiest boy ever because I was, like, I mean, like, I was like Spooky. I grew up with Clone Wars, but, this was like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm finally gonna watch a Star Wars movie in the theaters.
Right.
Like, this will be the film that I actually grew up with.
Same. When I first saw the movie, and by the way, this was my first ever Star Wars movie that I saw in theaters. I remember seeing BB-8 and R2D2 and C-3PO with the red arm like painted on the walls, and it was so cool seeing a bunch of Star Wars fans united to come watch a movie.
So yeah, I also remember when the official trailer, not the first two teaser trailers, the official trailer that came out. I remember I stayed up to watch it on Monday Night Football,
Hmm.
and I remember I watched that trailer like 63 times the following day.
Right.
I was
It
just
was an
like
amazing
breaking
trailer.
down every little thing.
Right.
Yeah, it made me tear up. And even going back to it now, I'm sorry, that's still my favorite Star Wars trailer. It
It's
might not be my favorite movie, but it is my favorite trailer of all
right.
Star Wars.
Right. No, it's a beautifully well-made trailer. In fact, we talked about this on the earlier episode, which was episode 1. When you're watching Star Wars, you should definitely watch The Force Awakens because it was so cool seeing these characters that I had grown up with, like Han Solo and Leia, all grown up, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And yeah, it's an amazing movie, definitely.
let me tell you now the story of the night, the premiere night. So when I reacted to, I wanted tickets to go watch Force Awakens. So my mom went on her computer and she got tickets, and she's like, I got tickets for the 17th. I'm like, no, the movie comes out the 18th. She's like, no, we got it on premiere night. I was like, what is premiere night? So then I found out that, oh, hey, movies release like an early day, like a
Right.
day earlier, and all of that from the official release date. I was like, oh, okay. So I remember going to the theater, and that was still the best night of my life because I went in there and they had about 6 tables set
Right.
up of
Right.
Star Wars merch. Like you had action figures, the shirts, the cups, the remote control BB-8 thing,
Oh, I have that.
that you could control.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, on that like wristwatch or maybe on the phone, I forget.
It's on the phone.
But yeah, on the phone. Like I I remember like just being in that line, and I think I got 2 things. I think I got a Finn action figure and a Force Awakens shirt.
Mhm.
Because again, though, there was no Kylo Ren action figures. Like they just kept on selling out. But
Right.
I hate it. But now I have 2 of them. Now I have 2 Kylo Ren action figures finally. But
Right.
yeah, but when I went in, I also got a popcorn container, and also
Oh, cool, dude.
yeah, I love the popcorn container, and also I got a cup that was Hux's speech.
Yes.
It was Hux's speech on the entire cup, and also a BB-8 straw. Yes, a BB-8 straw.
BB-8 straw. Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely did. As a young boy watching that movie, I walked out of that and I loved it. And I remember my stepdad at the time said that it was just the original trilogy all over again. And my mom was a little bit stupid, and she's like, oh, it's just Return of the Jedi all over again. I'm like,
Oh, Lord.
no, it's not. Why are you saying Return of the Jedi? Like, I could understand A New Hope if you said A New Hope, but
Right.
why Return of the Jedi? Well, they shut down the shields. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can kind of understand now. But the biggest question I had walking out of the theater, and I remember I asked, who's Snoke? And my mom and my stepdad was, who was Rey? When I asked who was Snoke, my stepdad was like, oh, it's obvious, Seth. It's gonna be Darth Vader. I'm like, no, they're not
Oh
gonna bring
gosh.
Darth Vader from the dead. Like,
Right.
what? No, Anakin redeemed himself. And that's one that those are casual people.
Yeah. They wouldn't bring a
And they
character
don't.
back from the dead, would they?
Yeah. Oh, ha 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 ha. We're gonna get there.
Hey, just stay tuned,
But
fans, because we're gonna get to that movie in a second.
yes. But my thoughts of Force Awakens though, I mean like I loved it. I loved the characters in it. I loved the story that they were trying to do, and the story that they even did do, I really enjoyed. And I like all the visuals, the music, the score was really awesome. I gotta say, I think the music was a huge highlight. Like Ray's theme, hearing
Yeah.
Ray's theme for the first time, Kylo's theme, amazing. I love Kylo's soundtrack. The Resistance soundtrack, the March of the Resistance,
Oh, that is so
excellent.
good.
And my favorite scene of Force Awakens is still and I really think it's the music also with the scenery of this. It's the last scene when Rey finds Luke on Octu Island. It just feels magical. Like, like this island where the Jedi first started. And
Yeah,
it just looks, it's first off a beautiful island, but also just so much mystery. And like, you're just like, oh my goodness gracious, like how did the Jedi actually start here? And like that's why I would love to see more Octu in future Star Wars stories. That's
right.
what I hope James Mangold's film, The Dawn of the Jedi
Hmm.
film, I hope that covers the Octu Island stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it was a beautiful movie. As a kid, you don't know the story, how it affects the rest of the story. And I'll be honest, The Force Awakens didn't really ruin anything that the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy created. I think that The Force Awakens added on to it. There are a few, now we're gonna get into it. There are a few movies that did somewhat kind of ruin a bit of characters, and we're gonna get right now The Last Jedi. What are your
okay.
opinions on The Last Jedi?
Oh, okay. So, I remember I was very most just I was so hyped for Last Jedi. Because come on
Right.
now, Force Awakens was my Star Wars film. Like it was the film, like this trilogy was the trilogy I was kind of growing up with. So
Right.
it's like, like of course I'm going to be excited for Last Jedi. And the trailers were phenomenal. The promotion and marketing was phenomenal. The toys were intriguing. I will say it was a downfall. Like it was not a downfall. I mean, it was a downgrade compared to the Force Awakens merch, but it
Yeah.
was still solid. And I was really looking forward to, the story. I was looking forward to seeing how Rey's progression would be. Looking forward to some answers of Snoke. Seeing Kylo again because Kylo was my favorite character of Force Awakens. And just seeing what was it? Yeah, I even got magazines for Last Jedi, and I was reading articles of news of people reporting like, yes, this will happen, this might not. And so I already assumed, yeah, Luke's gonna be a grumpy man in the film.
That was
So
surprising to me.
it wasn't for me though, because I already read articles where they straight up said Luke will be a grumpy man and jaded, and he will not want to go back to the fight, but it's Rey who needs to try and convince him to come back to the fight. And the film that we got, I was in denial at first. I came out of the theater, I was saying, oh my goodness gracious, it was the second best Star Wars movie. It was better than Force Awakens. But then I couldn't sleep that night. I
Mm.
couldn't.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened, honestly. When I watched that movie, I thought that Snoke was Palpatine. So even before the Rise of Skywalker came out, I was genuinely thinking, "Hey, something's wrong here. This guy shouldn't be alive." And to me, I was like, "This doesn't make sense." This movie, the story is what matters, and it's like this doesn't look good.
I feel like there's a lot of issues with the film. And I actually will tell you that because I've actually, well, I've seen a lot of videos about it, let's just say that, and also re edits of this film.
Right.
So, first off, what I have to say is how dare you, Ryan Johnson, cut out all those deleted scenes? Because every single deleted scene you cut out would have made the movie 10 times better.
Right.
It seems like Ryan Johnson cut out every single scene that was a callback to Force Awakens. And I absolutely hated that. I'm like, how dare you? Like, there was a scene between Finn and BB-8 where BB-8 was going to show him a recording of Rey. You know how Rey kisses Finn on the forehead
Yeah.
at the end of Force Awakens? Well, BB-8 was going to show him a recording of that, and that was what was going to promote Finn to leave the Resistance. It wasn't him going to be a coward. It was going to be, oh, I need to save my friend, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But in the film that we got, it seems like he's just being a coward. Same thing with, there was going to be an extended fight of Finn with Phasma, where Finn was actually going to call out Phasma for shutting down the shield in Force Awakens.
Mhm.
And Phasma was going to be like, no one will believe that, or something like that. And all the stormtroopers were going to turn on Phasma, and then Phasma was going to kill them all. And then Finn does the final blow. So, yeah. And then there's another deleted scene of Rey learning it's her third lesson with Luke and all of that, with the caretaker village and all of that. It's like there's a lot of good deleted scenes that were just cut from the film, which I was like, how dare you cut them out, Mr. Johnson, how dare you.
Right.
And his reasoning why was, oh, the film was being too long. And I'm over here like, but you keep the mama joke to Hux, and
Yeah, that
you
was, oh
keep
my god.
Luke milking a sea cow in, which was
Yeah.
completely. I'm sorry, you can cut that out, and half of the Star Wars fan base, most of the Star Wars fan base, would then be like, "All right, Lucasfilm, we care about you again."
It was
But
I remember being as a kid, I was like, why are there, boobs in Star Wars? Like, I don't want to see this.
yeah, why is Luke milking sea cows here?
Right.
But anyway, and then there's other scenes too, like the biggest thing is also Finn's character arc was just garbage in this film,
It
you
was, yeah.
know,
They really ruined his
and
character.
yes,
That's the
by
thing with
him,
the Force
yeah,
Awakens. Is the Force Awakens, they set up a whole character for Finn. They made him a whole character, and maybe he has the Force. It was a big opportunity that the Last Jedi clearly did not use the right way, because I think it was touched briefly in the Rise of Skywalker. Correct?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then also, real quick, I want to add on to a point that we brought up earlier about Luke being crazy in this movie. When I watched the movie first, he's crazy. It's all right. That's weird, because in the Return of the Jedi, he's a calm guy. And then you play the Battlefront 2 story mode, and you actually get to see Luke Skywalker. He's this cool Jedi. He's inspiring. And then you get to the Last Jedi, and you see him throwing his lightsaber, or he's being crazy. He's just it was terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's another scene that I absolutely despise. Luke throwing the lightsaber. All right, because the
That was
thing
so
is,
unnecessary.
it was unnecessary, but also the biggest thing is, again, we're talking about humor. That was
Yeah.
played for a joke. I was not laughing. I don't like that this film, they put way too many jokes in it.
I had a
And
straight face the entire movie. I don't think I laughed
yeah,
once. Yeah.
yeah. And the only time I laughed was and this joke actually was like Luke. When Luke was asking Ray, um, who are you? And Ray's like, I'm no one. Yeah, I mean, I'm from nowhere. No one is from nowhere. Jakku. Okay, that's pretty much nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
like that was kind of goofy. Like, I liked that. That was
Right.
something Luke would say.
But there
But
were so many scenes in that movie where they were so unnecessary. And like you said, the space cows, that was so unneeded. But I'm not going to complain. There were
now,
aspects of that movie that were good.
He could have just handed it back to Rey, and then it accomplished the scene, because Rey gives him the lightsaber, and then he looks at it, and then he just gives it back. Like, no, sorry, that's not me anymore, kid. And then Rey's like, Master Skywalker, why? Where are you going? Like, you get what I mean? It still accomplishes the same scene.
Yeah, but it could have all been avoidable if you had removed the part where he tries to kill Ben Solo, which in the first place in itself is absurd. I mean, it's so avoidable. They could have removed the part where he tries to kill his own family with the Youngling Slayer 2000,
I'm actually gonna say something. Now, I actually want to hear your thoughts on this, Spooky, because to me, this is actually another problem with Last Jedi. There's a lot, as everyone can know.
Right.
Show, don't tell. That is the biggest problem. Well, one of the biggest. Because the idea of Luke seeing something in Ben, and then he ignites that lightsaber, and then he's like, no, this is not me. And then he has to pay the price because he even thought for a second, maybe I actually have to kill him. Like, that idea could work if it was like this. So now, hear me out.
I'm all
What if Luke saw Han's death and Leia's death at the hands of Ben? Now, remember back in Empire Strikes Back, Luke saw that. Luke saw a vision. And when he saw his friends were in trouble, he ran to he acted on it.
Right.
So it is in character for Luke to act on. So I understand.
From the time span of Empire Strikes Back all the way to Return of the Jedi, he's become more patient, and it's also shown in Jabba's palace. He has patience with Jabba, with his own father. Like from Empire Strikes Back all the way to Return of the Jedi, he's learned these lessons of patience from Ben and Yoda, where he should be a patient Jedi up until The Last Jedi, where he goes psycho. Like, it was just so unnecessary.
I feel like it just depends on the reason why, because technically anyone can go that way, because even, yes, you said in Return of the Jedi, he did. Absolutely, he became more patient. But even then, during that final fight, which you could actually say, yes, that was when he finally became a patient and full Jedi, during that final fight with Vader. But even during that final fight, he did act on anger at that brief time. Remember,
I remember that.
He was going to kill Vader, and then he saw, oh crap, Vader's just like me. He had a robotic hand like me. Like, no, why am I fighting him?
That's where he should have learned his lesson. Right there, that spot is when he should have been, you know what? This is not right. I will never turn to the dark side. And then flash forward all the way to The Last Jedi. He's hovering over Ben Solo with a lightsaber, about to kill him. It's like, first of all, that's your own family member. Second of all, why? What are we doing? But I see what you're saying.
The biggest thing. If there was a reason, if we saw that vision or that reason, like if Luke saw billions of people dying at the hands of Kylo,
maybe he had a reason.
Yeah, like maybe that's why he ignited that saber. But we don't know. We have no idea. So that's why it's a bad thing, And
they did so many things wrong with that movie. It's unbelievable. In fact, if we're ranking the Star Wars movies, I'd probably put the Rise of Skywalker above The Last Jedi.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know we both have different opinions on the Rise of Skywalker, but I want to hear what your favorite aspects of that movie were. And do you like it or not? And I know the answer, and I 100% respect it. But I want to hear you talk about it.
Okay. So I like Rise of Skywalker a lot. And the reason why is, yes, is this film probably the film that's least quality, I'll say, out of the 3 sequel trilogy films. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I'm gonna say it. All right, Last Jedi. Even though the film in itself was not that great, it was made better than the Rise of Skywalker. But again, though, the Rise of Skywalker was rushed. Snoke is dead. Rey is a nobody.
Yeah.
Kylo is not like it would be all right if Kylo was a strong enough villain, but you made him lose against Luke.
I was gonna say,
If
yeah,
Kylo killed Luke at the end of Last Jedi, then yes, maybe Kylo could have been the main villain in episode 9.
right.
Because then we would feel that, like, oh my goodness gracious, how is Rey going to defeat Kylo Ren? Because he killed Luke. Like, how is she gonna defeat Kylo? But the thing is, we didn't have that worry. Instead, a lot of fans just felt like Kylo was a whiny emo kid.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
They then included Palpatine because of the lack of Snoke.
That's the other thing. They
You
made like
know,
10,000 Snokes. What was that? That was, oh my gosh. They ruined another
well, they
character
tried
with
to
that.
make the explanation because everyone wanted to know where Snoke came from.
Yeah, but they could
And
have made him like they could have made Snoke way more cooler than that. They showed that there were
no,
like
I agree.
1,000
I
clones of
agree.
Snoke, and I was like, oh my god, that they ruined the character again.
I agree. Rise of Skywalker came out. My first thoughts on it, I really liked it. It got me back into Star Wars. That's the thing. Last
That's all
Jedi,
that matters, really. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
like Last Jedi didn't. Last Jedi really just hurted me, and then Resistance came out. That didn't do anything.
That was so stupid.
Solo didn't do anything. I know people like Solo, and that's fine, but
Right.
Solo just did not do anything for me. So Rise of Skywalker just brought back my hype, and I liked it a whole lot. And also, Mandalorian and Fallen Order also came out at the same time. So it's like all those together just made me like, yes, I am proud to be a Star Wars fan, and I'm never going to let this franchise die within my heart, you
Right.
know? And I also took my mom because she was sick, and she took me to see Force Awakens. So
Mhm.
now, like, a few years later, I'm now the one to take her.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's actually the main reason why the
That's
film just holds a special
yeah,
part,
but that's
you
also a
know?
very, very beautiful story. So there's a reason why you should like it.
Yeah.
For other
You
people, it
know,
was they go into a theater, they watch this movie, and they're like, "I spent 2 hours watching
well,
oh my god."
I mean, even Last Jedi, like, even though I don't like Last Jedi is my least favorite film, I still have to admit, I went with my grandfather, like, and my mom one time. I went to see Last Jedi 3 times in theaters.
Right.
So I still remember going to the theaters with my family, and it was still like fun.
Yeah.
Like, even though they didn't understand it as much as I did, it was still fun, and it was like a fun family thing, you know?
And that's all that
Um,
matters. It's watching it with your family and enjoying the moment.
yeah,
Maybe it's not
yeah,
about the movie. Maybe it's about being with someone that you love.
yeah. No, exactly. And because that's the thing, Star Wars at its core, at least with the Skywalker saga, it's about family. It's
Yeah.
a family soap opera. That's what George Lucas himself has said. So the message and themes of family really does hit home when you watch it with a family, not just with nerds,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, And it's sad because some of those nerds don't have family or they neglect their family. So
Right.
it's like, I like when I go to theaters with my family and friends that I consider my family too.
Yeah.
So, the fact that my theory was right about Ray being a Palpatine, that actually did help too. Like, I was like, yes, I guessed this the night after I watched Force Awakens. Like, even though that was not planned, I know I still was a happy guy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I like Rise of Skywalker for I see the story that JJ was trying to tell. And I've said this back in episode 1 in the podcast. I understand the story that they were trying to do,
Mhm.
and I like the story that they were trying to do. I just feel like it just wasn't executed correctly. And that
Exactly.
goes for a lot of these films and even a lot of Star Wars bad projects too. But some of them I can't really defend. But this one, I can be like, yeah, no. There's, for me personally, for some reason with this movie, I can turn it on and I smile.
Right.
You
And that's all
know,
that
that's
matters. That's
why
that's all that matters,
yeah,
realistically.
yeah, like I can't help that I just smile when watching this movie.
And you're
It's
not a
just that
fake fan for that.
simple.
That's what people
Like
get so wrong all the time. People will be like, "Hey, you're a fake fan for liking this movie," but no, you can like what you want to like, and that's all that matters.
I yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Star Wars Network, for coming on this show, on this podcast. It's a real pleasure to have you. Do you want to quickly plug your channel, so all the fans and viewers can subscribe to you?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can check me out on Star Wars Network. It's going to be a group channel. It's 2 of us. Me and Star Wars Motions are going to be running that channel. We're hoping to start in June or July. We still got a lot of work to do, but trust me, if you love lore videos, audio comics, and news, and we're going to be doing a podcast live stream series called Galactic Chat on there every Friday. I mean, every other Friday. Go check it out. Thank you, Spooky, for having me on.
Yeah,
And
of course, man.
this was a wonderful time speaking with you on the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you guys on. Make sure you subscribe to him. I'll link his channel in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.